today we have with us Rhea Mazumdar Singhal on my show, Talk with Tanya. And I'd like to welcome her with an open heart. And I'm so glad she's here. Her initiative or her venture, Ecoware, is taking this step forward towards sustainability and helping the environment. And I'm so glad to have her with me today because I feel we are not talking about environment enough. Welcome, Rhea.
Hi, Tanya. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be on the show with you.
Yeah, so Rhea, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about you and your journey so far to begin with?
Sure. So, Tanya, by way of background, I was born in Bombay when it was called Bombay. Which probably gives away my age a little bit, but anyway. And then when I was about a year old, my parents moved to Dubai. I spent most of my life growing up abroad, living abroad. Between Dubai and London. And I studied pharmacology. I used to work for Pfizer in the UK. And in 2000, soon after I got married, and I moved to India. So that happened in 2009. Which is when I moved to Delhi. And I decided I'd had enough of the pharma world and I wanted to do something different. I was really disheartened by the amount of plastics that people were using, and not understanding the negative health impact. And the fact that everything we created, right, ended up in a landfill because as a nation, we don't have any formal waste segregation. And 11 years, I think, into my journey, I really don't think much has changed in terms of systems to manage waste. So very simply, I wanted to create a product that was safe for humanity to eat out of and safe for the environment, right? And the second thing, it was really important, I think, as a developing nation for us to create impact and to use our business as a platform for change. And thirdly, we wanted to be very authentic about who we are, what we make, how we make, so really stay away from the greenwash. So that's how really I started Ecoware, and that was back in 2009.
Wow. So very few people take that plunge and leave their careers in the corporate world and let alone leave it in when especially you're working abroad. So kudos to you for that. Rhea, you spoke about a very interesting thing that of course we know that how many landfills are really filled with the usage of plastic. There's a lot of awareness, I do believe, which has spread about this single-use plastic per se, right? But people do know about the fact that it's non-biodegradable, but I don't think enough people know about the fact that how much harm it is causing to the environment and marine life. So many animals, then yeah, they die because of single-use plastic. And in COVID, I feel the use of plastic has increased all the more. So do you think a world without single-use plastic is possible at all?
I mean, I hope it is. That's, what we're working towards. But I feel that, look, plastic is a very convenient material, right? And just think about from the time that you woke up today, how much plastic you've interacted with, right? From your toothbrush to, I don't know, whatever, the chair you're sitting on or at work, etc. So it's everywhere. And I think the start that we as individuals and as a community and as businesses that we need to make is how do we minimize our use? I don't know. Can we get it down to zero? I have no idea. I think that would be extremely hard, and I think we have a lot of work ahead of us to get to that point. But I think we can certainly start minimizing our usage of plastic and where it's possible. And I think we, can make conscious decisions to refuse single use. Whether you go to a sabzi wala, whether you go to your local Kirana store, you can say no to that bag. You can go to a restaurant and say no to that straw. These are very simple places to start. And I think the importance is to start making those conscious steps.
I'm so glad that you touched upon the little steps that people probably who are listening to us can take, right? About simple things like bags or toothbrushes, or otherwise, do we really have any alternatives to plastic? And in fact, a lot of brands are moving towards sustainable packaging. Nestle is investing a huge amount of money in sustainable packaging. So, is it firstly, is it something that consumers are increasingly demanding, which is why brands are moving towards it? And how heavy on cost is it for businesses? And does it really dissuade them because of the whole cost factor?
So let me answer the second part of your question first. In terms of cost, I can tell you. So what we do at Ecoware is we take agri waste, right, which is typically burnt by farmers or eaten as used as animal fodder, etc. And we clean it and we pulp it and we convert it into packaging for the food and beverage industry. And as we've grown in the last 11 years, we have obviously reaped the benefits of economies of scale, and we've brought down the price differential between a plastic product and an Ecoware product. Ecoware is, it's the most natural thing you can find in the market. It has no additives, binders. It's backyard biodegradable. It's completely certified. You can use it in the microwave. It's so, and it's only currently 15% more expensive than plastic. Now, we even convinced the Indian Railways, right, to give up and replace the aluminum casseroles that they had been using for absolute decades and replace it with a biodegradable tray like Ecoware. So, which shows you that and they are the largest meal providers in the country. So, if they can do it, there is absolutely no reason, be it, or an objection for anyone else to try. Um, the railways is a government. I mean, it's government. It's a government run body, etc. So if, like I said, if they can do it, I don't see why anyone else can't. And the cost sensitivities can be. I mean, cost sensitivities can be addressed. There's no two ways. I mean, there's no this thing about that. Like I said, we've with economies of scale, we've driven down the price differential, and now the conversations that we have with consumers aren't even cost based. They are very much like, can you make this shape and size? Can you brand? How can you send it to wherever I am in this part of the country? How quickly can you send it to us? So those are the kind of conversations we have. So that's, I don't think cost is an issue anymore, right? To answer the first part of your question, what we see is we see consumers align themselves to more responsible brands, right? So we are seeing consumers, we've seen a huge spike in awareness over the last maybe 2 to 3 years around single-use plastic, whether it is, plastic bans being enforced in our country, whether it is education at a grassroots level, whether it is the harmful effects of plastic put into our kids' syllabus in school, whether it is TV shows like Blue Planet, Sir David Attenborough has, so successfully launched. So we've seen this entire spike, right? And we've seen media also cover animals, dying because or dead because they've just consumed so much plastic, etc. So because of the spike of awareness, I think people are starting to make more conscious decisions. But I feel like in our country, we are 1.3 billion people and we are a very diverse nation. So I don't feel that it is everyone's priority. And I also think, as brands, and I say this very openly, is that your consumer is changing. We're in 2020. Do you really want to be that brand not using plastic, and not using sustainable materials? In the next 5 years, your consumer will be the Greta Thunbergs of the world, right? They will be my kids who come home and say, Mama, we can't light crackers because it gives us a cough. We can't eat fish because it has microplastics. I mean, this is your future. These are the people you're selling to. And so I think from a sales point of view, you have to understand that your consumer is changing. From whether I think irrespective of who you are, whether you are a CEO, whether you're a shareholder, whether you're an investor, basically every stakeholder has to realize that there is an opportunity in sustainability, and your business will have more value if your business models are sustainable, revolve around sustainability, right, versus a business that doesn't. So people have to look at this as an opportunity from whoever you might be as a stakeholder, basically.
Okay, wonderful. You said that definitely I agree with you that the awareness is really increasing, but you rightly so said that it's not really a priority for a lot of people because maybe this is still a lot more of a conversation that's happening in the urban areas perhaps than it has trickled down to the rural areas per se. And I do feel that as a conversation, as a campaign, it's successful because people are talking about it, though I still feel that we're not talking about it enough. But I feel that as consumers, people need alternatives. We can't just do
Absolutely.
a campaign and say that, stop use of plastic unless there's easy accessibility. I mean, a very small example I'd like to share that at my house we used to use plastic garbage bags, but now biodegradable plastic garbage bag not biodegradable not plastic garbage bags are available now. I don't know how useful they are, but very small shift that we've been able to make because it's available. At least it says that this is a better option as compared to using the older garbage bags.
True. And I think, Tanya, what you see is with these new materials, with new products that revolve around sustainability, it's more entrepreneurs doing this, right? So I feel that, and they're small, medium size, and we've got to scale them to make products like this available to everybody. So I think, the larger Nestle's, Unilevers, etc. of the world have IKEAs, etc. They have a lot to do. I think it would be good for them to incorporate smaller companies into their supply chain, right, to help reduce their plastic footprint, and also then help scale a smaller business, right, and the impact that they're trying to create. So yeah.
I'm glad brands are doing that, but they're doing it too late. It's already 2020 and we've been having this conversation for a long time, but I hope we do have a better future. And there are a lot more cheaper alternatives, which are also cost effective, so that we know how do we replace our bathroom buckets, the plastic bathroom buckets with what,
Yeah.
we have more options to be able to do that. Great. So brands can take that step, but what is your opinion about the government policies? Government did ban the plastic usage, but again, without too many alternatives being given to people to use. So what do you think can be some policy changes that can be made for this?
So I think, we have a history of coming up with a lot of bans. I don't feel like they are always enforced, and if they are, they're not consistently enforced. So I think, right there we have a few gaps that we need to fill. I personally feel that the plastic ban that came into force in Karnataka in 2016 was a success because I felt that it was more citizen led, right? We had consumers in Bangalore pick up our plates at different cafes, etc., and tweet about it, try and compost it, put it in soil, and then say this is what, and tweet photos of what it looked like at 2 weeks, 4 weeks, all that sort of stuff, and say, guys, this is what's original, this is what isn't. And it was a proper citizen-led movement, and I think that's what helped sort of it was like it helped it be a success. It was a holistic approach because it wasn't just something being forced down you, right? And I think that, Tanya, I mean, we may not have replacements, okay, in terms of solutions, but the point is that, you know overnight we saw in Bangalore people, like restaurants, small mom and pop restaurants, put up signs that saying, look, if you want to take away, bring your own utensils. I don't have takeaway solutions, right? And consumers were willing to do that. It wasn't like, I'm not going to go there, I'm not going to eat there, you're not, it. So there was a bit of give and take, and people met each other halfway. And I felt like, I think that's what needs to be done till we have a sustainable replacement for absolutely everything in the market. Um, Policy wise, I think, like I said, I think there needs to be consistency in terms of, I think there needs to be enforcement. I think there needs to be consistency in terms of enforcement. I think there needs to be education. You can go to various parks in the NDMC area of Delhi, and you'll see two different dustbins. No one knows, or the common man, I'm sorry, but isn't educated enough to know what goes in which dustbin, right? So let's start creating this awareness. Let's start educating our masses. Sustainability shouldn't be sort of just an elite subject. Everyone should know about it in all our languages. So I think a mass educational drive is important. And I think just incentivizing green businesses, I think incentivizing bigger businesses as well to be responsible for their waste, be it from a collection, a circular economy, like whatever you can think of, basically. But you've got to, there has to be an incentive. And I think there has to be recognition as well. I mean, we saw a whole bunch of schemes come out during lockdown, or during COVID, for businesses, SMEs, various. I mean, there were financial packages. There was nothing for a business that is green, or that is doing that, one that is committing to SDGs, that is doing that one thing more. So you've got to differentiate, and I think you've got to provide a different path. And I think also GST, I mean, that's something that we lobby as well. We have products like ours that are exposed to a 12% GST. An ideal world, we would be zero, but even if we can get that down a little bit and make a product like Ecoware even more affordable, that just means mass adoption, right? So yeah.
Great. I think that was very well put, Rhea. Now, the unfortunate reality is that us humans really feel for something more deeply if it affects us personally. So till it reaches our homes or really touches our lives, we do empathize with things, we look at it, but then we move on and we forget about it. And there is this entire conversation about global warming, climate change, and these are very, very real issues. And Fridays for the Future is something that's a global movement about it. But in India, per se, we do talk about it, but I don't think we understand the seriousness, because when you say that, the temperature is rising by a degree, I don't think we understand the impact of it on in the longer run. So, how would you like to reiterate for our viewers about how pressing a issue global warming and environmental change and climate change is?
I strongly believe, Tanya, that it's something that you can't run away from. I can tell you that extreme weather patterns, if you're a business owner and you can't, please don't live in denial, because extreme weather patterns will affect you. Whether it is extreme heat, whether it is extreme flooding, rain, etc., it affects your output, right? You will lose out on, your economics and your P&L at some level. And I think that I think that you've got to start acknowledging the fact that it's not that, oh, some ice, an iceberg melted somewhere, it's never going to touch me, or like there are floods somewhere and it's never going to touch me. And I think that attitude is, it's not going to help you, because climate change will affect everybody, and it does affect everybody. I also think that, like I said, touched on earlier, is that, if you want any form of a future for your business and your brand, then you've got to start thinking about climate change. You've got to start thinking about sustainability, because you won't be around. You won't have a consumer to sell to in 5 years' time. it's going to be a very different landscape, and we're seeing the landscape change, right? I mean, every stakeholder, like I said, is being questioned about sustainability. It's no and commitments. Whether, like I said, whether you're an investor, people are being called up about, whether they're investing in sustainable businesses, whether they're looking at SDGs, whether they're looking at the kind of commitments they're making. And even as a brand, I mean, we live in a very connected world, and that connectivity is only going to amplify, right, as we go ahead. So just think about it. I mean, it takes one person to tweet about you, a photo or something, and it goes viral in an instant. And you don't want anything negative for the brand that you built, or that you continue to build. So I think it's in everyone's best interest to start taking climate change seriously. Um, and so obviously I've talked about it from a business perspective as well. And I think that as consumers, I think we need to call out brands that aren't being sustainable. Like, if you're still being served that plastic straw when you shouldn't be, if you're still being served in a plastic bag when you shouldn't be, you have the right to refuse. Start exercising that right.
Great. I think these small steps matter because these are some tangible steps that we can take today. And it's important to keep having these conversations. So, Rhea, I'm again very curious about the fact that at what age did you start up? And on a closing note, what message do you have for women who you feel should be encouraged to start up and should take that plunge?
So I started my journey as an entrepreneur when I was 27. And that was, yeah, so that's when I started. I think, you know, um, I do a lot of stuff around women empowerment and, getting more women out into the workforce. And I strongly believe that, um, the women are the backbone of this nation. The ability of a nation to succeed is, and especially in India, is depends on how many women we get out there contributing to our economy. Now, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are in the service industry, whether you are whatever you might be doing, but you need to be out there working. And I think that, and I hats off to all the women out there, because I think that what we see is when you make a woman independent, you are making her family independent, right? She's educating her kids. And they get inspired, right, to do even better than what they're seeing. So there's this immense, like, positive knock-on effect um, that I'm always very excited about encouraging and seeing. And I think that, the biggest injustice is not trying. So if you've got an idea, if you've got something you want to do, please go out and do it. And I always say this, I say, failure is only failure if you haven't learned. Otherwise, it's just a setback. And there's loads of those, but as long as you keep learning and you keep evolving and moving ahead, that's all that matters.
Great, Ria. I personally am phenomenally inspired by women, not just women who are doing well and are running their own ventures, but also with every single woman and young girls who have dreams in their eyes and are willing to try. Because if you
Yeah,
really try and if you believe in yourself, I don't think anybody can fail ever. Because again, failure and success is a very subjective concept. So if as long as you're
I
willing to try, you will get somewhere. You will get wherever you want to get, and that could be any.
I completely agree. And I think that, you've got to, I've learned to laugh. I've learned to be really thick skinned. And I'm just like, okay, what doesn't kill you is only going to make you stronger, basically. So it's okay.
Great, great, great. So, Ria, you've given great insights to our viewers about how a pressing issue environment is. I think every conversation is important, and today's conversation has added to the noise that is there about environment and climate change. And thank you very, very much for coming to my show. It's been an absolute pleasure and delight interacting with you.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you.
Global warming, climate change, extreme events are real issues. If you want to spread awareness about this, then please like and share this video. And if you want me to continue to bring awesome people like Rhea on my show, then don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Shukriya.